The CEO of Louis Vuitton is richer than Jeff Bezos.
I always say to my team, you should be thinking that the worst is coming, and you should never be satisfied.
Last month, Louis Vuitton, the flagship brand for Bernard Arnault's empire, became the first European company to surpass the $500 billion mark. In this video, we'll discuss one of the world's most iconic and successful brands, Louis Vuitton, the one with the famous monogram and the pricey bags and accessories. How did Louis Vuitton become the world's $500 billion luxury leader? How did it go from marking trunks in Paris to ruling the fashion world? We'll look at how Louis Vuitton rose to prominence in the history of luxury brands. But first, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more videos like this. Louis Vuitton was born in a small village in France in 1821. He came from a low-income family and had a difficult childhood. His father was a farmer and his mother died at age 10. He had to learn carpentry, metalworking, and leatherworking as an apprentice for various artisans and merchants. He decided to leave his village at the age of 16 and walk to Paris, which was about 300 miles away. He traveled to the city for 2 years, working odd jobs. He arrived in Paris in 1837 and found work as a box maker and a packer for a well-known luggage company, and quickly became known for his craftsmanship and ingenuity, creating custom-made boxes and trunks that were durable, lightweight, and elegant. In 1854, he established his workshop in Paris and began producing his trunks and luggage. He pioneered several industry-changing innovations, including flat-topped trunks that could be easily stacked, waterproof canvas that protected the contents from moisture and dirt, and locks that could only be opened with a special key. He quickly drew the attention of some of France's most powerful people, including Napoleon III's wife, Empress Eugenie, who became loyal customers and patrons. He also took his business global, opening stores in London and New York. In 1886, he introduced a new patented and guaranteed unpickable lock system. He even offered a reward of 10,000 francs to anyone who could break into his trunks. In 1888, he designed a new pattern for his canvas, Damier, a checkerboard of brown and beige squares. He also added a label reading Marque Vuitton de Posière, which translates to Louis Vuitton registered trademark. This was one of the first examples of branding in history. In 1892, Louis Vuitton died at the age of 70. He left behind a legacy of excellence and innovation that his son and grandson would carry on. His son Georges Vuitton took over the business after his father's death. He continued to expand the company's reach and reputation, opening more stores worldwide and creating more products for different markets. He also created one of the most iconic symbols of the brand, the LV monogram. He also introduced new materials for his products, such as leather and exotic skins like crocodile and ostrich. He collaborated with famous artists like Paul Signac and Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec to create custom-made trunks with paintings. He died in 1936 at the age of 68. He passed on the torch to his son, Gaston Louis Vuitton. After Gaston Louis Vuitton's death, the company was led by a series of managers and directors who continued to grow and evolve the brand. They also faced some changes and challenges in the industry, such as globalization, digitalization, and sustainability. They expanded the company's presence and influence on different regions and markets, such as Asia, Africa, and Latin America. They also opened more stores and boutiques worldwide, reaching over 500 locations in 50 countries. They diversified the company's portfolio and offerings by acquiring or partnering with other brands and businesses in different sectors and domains. They acquired brands such as Moui and Chandon, Hennessy, Christian Dior, Givenchy, Fendi, Marc Jacobs, Sephora, etc. That was their irrelevant history, but we're not here to talk about that. Arnault, LVMH's chairman and chief executive officer, made his foray into luxury in 1984, taking over Boussac Son Frère. the bankrupt textile group that owned a gem, Christian Dior. He spun off most of the company's other businesses and used the windfall to buy a controlling stake in LVMH, whose two main companies, Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy, had merged in 1987. Over the next 3 decades, he built LVMH into a luxury behemoth, selling everything from spirits to leather goods to jewelry through more than 5,600 stores worldwide. He recognized the importance of China early on, opening the first Louis Vuitton store in Beijing in 1992. Arnault, 74, and his family own 48% of LVMH, and he's been laying the groundwork to keep the company in family hands for decades. The achievement we focus on comes less than 2 weeks after LVMH became one of the world's 10 largest corporations, thanks to a surge in first quarter sales. Following Hermès International SA's strong results, rival Hermès International SA published its own, reinforcing the view that China's reopening from pandemic lockdowns is fueling growth across the industry. The increase in Louis Vuitton's market capitalization is due to strong demand for luxury goods in China and a strengthening euro. According to Bloomberg, LV's first quarter sales increased significantly, while its stock has risen 6.9% this month. Tesla's market capitalization has dropped 23% to $505 billion. Luxury stocks encapsulate what the equity market has to offer right now: exposure to Chinese consumption, which continues to surprise on the rise, and robust margins due to their pricing power, said Lilia Peitavan, European portfolio strategist at Goldman Sachs in Paris. This distinguishes luxury from technology, whose margins have been contracting for several quarters. While LVMH is benefiting from China's reopening to the rest of the world, it is leaving Hong Kong due to decreased interest. According to a Bloomberg report last week, LVMH is shifting resources out of Hong Kong to focus more of its investment on burgeoning metropolises like Shanghai, Chengdu, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Last month, the CEO of the luxury conglomerate, Bernard Arnault, stated that negotiations for a sponsorship contract for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris are ongoing. On April 14th, LVMH announced an agreement to acquire a majority stake in Platinum Investment Group, the parent company of French jewelry brands Orest and Abyss. The retailer hopes to increase production for its US jeweler Tiffany due to the acquisition. The world's largest luxury goods company is also preparing for the high-profile reopening of Tiffany's New York flagship, which is expected by the end of this month. In February, Louis Vuitton hired musician and fashion designer Pharrell Williams as its menswear designer. Abloh, who died in 2021, previously held the position. Pharrell Williams will debut his first collection during Paris Fashion Week in June. With 75 labels ranging from Dom Perignon to Givenchy and Tiffany Co, the sprawling conglomerate became a training ground for ambitious designers looking to make a name for themselves. Marc Jacobs and the late Virgil Abloh at Louis Vuitton, Raf Simons at Christian Dior, and Phoebe Philo at Celine. This added novelty to the brands, keeping them relevant to young consumers. LVMH owns Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, and Tiffany Co. Despite rising inflation and interest rates, demand for LVMH products such as Louis Vuitton handbags, Moët & Chandon champagne, and Christian Dior gowns has remained strong. While big tech firms dominate the business landscape in the US, luxury good companies are the leaders in Europe. Their rally has cemented Paris's position as Europe's largest stock exchange, surpassing London. Analysts have been raising their price targets for LVMH stock as it has risen sharply. They see room for further gains, as 30 of the 36 Bloomberg-tracked analysts have a buy equivalent rating. Ashley Wallace of Bank of America Corporation believes the stock will reach €1,000 next year, a significant increase from its current price of €903.70. LVMH is too cheap given the attractiveness of the luxury goods sector. its strong brand portfolio and best-in-class execution, Wallace wrote on April the 13th in a report. The rising value of the company has increased the wealth of the world's richest person, Bernard Arnault. According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, his fortune is nearly $212 billion. Mr. Arnault is the first person outside the US to surpass the $200 billion mark, and the third person in history, followed by Elon Musk and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. The strong performance of LVMH has propelled his fortune, putting him ahead of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos as the world's wealthiest person. However, it has caused resentment in his home country of France. Protesters briefly stormed the LVMH headquarters on the posh Avenue Montaigne on April 13th. Union members reacted angrily to President Emmanuel Macron's plans to raise the retirement age, arguing that any shortfall in the pension system should be made up by raising taxes on businesses such as the luxury behemoth. Arnault shows no signs of stepping down anytime soon. LVMH lifted its chief executive officer's age limit last year, allowing him to serve until the age of 80. However, the titan has begun to lay the groundwork for his succession via a holding company. Will Louis Vuitton make history as the greatest company ever? Only time will tell.